Why is it that certain breathwork techniques seem to cause such a shift in our conscious state? In this video, we'll be looking at the relationship between prana, the mind, and the subtle energy channels referred to as nadis. And we'll do this through the lens of yoga, tantra, as well as psychoanalysis. When we talk about yoga, some people will focus on the body postures. Others might focus on breath work. But yoga, fundamentally, is an energetic practice. And Kriya Yoga, in particular, is designed for us to be able to work with this prana, this life-giving energy, which animates, sustains, and governs not just the physical body, but the mind too. The breathing process is not just a physical process. It is an expression of prana itself. And so by working with it, we're able to access something deeper than just the mere intake of oxygen. Kriya Yoga offers techniques for us to regulate the movement of prana as it moves through the subtle energy channels, the nadis. And as a result, then, we're able to have influence over our physiological states, but also our emotional and psychological states. Through engaging in these processes, we can experience greater awareness, facilitating then emotional healing. We also afford ourselves the opportunity to directly experience consciousness when it's not caught up in thinking processes. Prana is often translated to mean life force. But prana is much more than just an energy. It's the intelligence behind life itself. Prana is behind the movement of the body and the movement of the mind. It's prana which allows for the rising up of thoughts, the flowing of emotions, and for us to be able to engage in actions. So prana is the bridge between the body and the mind. It's because of prana that we're able to experience anything at all. If we pay attention, we can observe how our mental states are reflected through our breathing. When our minds are restless or agitated, our breathing can be unsteady, shallow, and fast. When our minds are focused, it's the opposite. Our breathing is deep and steady. And when we experience a mental state of deep peace and stillness, the breath can be almost imperceivable. And this is not a coincidence. The breath and the mind are deeply connected. Within psychoanalysis, prana might be compared to the libidinal energy, that fundamental force which shapes our drives, our emotions, and our unconscious patterns. Freud spoke about a deeper current of energy which shapes our behaviors. Similarly, yoga talks about prana as being that force which determines our thoughts, our desires, and our actions. So by working with the breath consciously, we're able to influence not just the body, but also the movements of emotions and thoughts. Within the yogic tradition, prana is said to flow through subtle energy channels, which are referred to as nadis. Now, nadis function like an energetic nervous system. And while there are thousands of nadis, 3 are given importance: the Ida, the Pingala, and the Sushumna. The Ida is associated with the left side of the body and is called the lunar channel. It having the characteristics of the moon, being calming and introspective. The Ida is linked to the parasympathetic nervous system, that aspect of our physiology which is responsible for rest and relaxation. When the Ida channel is dominant, we feel calm, inwardly focused, and more receptive. The Pingala Nadi is on the other side. It's associated with the right side of the body, and it's called the lunar channel, having the characteristics of the sun, warming and active. The Pingala Nadi is linked to the sympathetic nervous system, that aspect of our physiology which is responsible for movement, action, and outward expression. When the Pingala Nadi is dominant, we are energized, outwardly focused, and driven. The Sushumna Nadi runs through the center of the spinal column, representing a balance between the other two forces. It is said that true spiritual transformation takes place when prana moves freely through the Sushumna, allowing for the experience of deeper meditative states and more clarified states of conscious awareness. If we look at this from a psychological perspective, we can appreciate how these two forces exist within us, where the force of the Ida causes us to be introspective and receptive, and that of the Pingala causes us to be outwardly focused and driven. Now, most of us will move from one state to another, over and back, never really experiencing a balancing of these two forces. When the Ida and the Pingala are harmonized through Kriya Yoga, prana can flow freely through the Sushumna, allowing for us to enter into heightened states of awareness where we experience greater clarity and deeper inner stillness. So what happens when prana is not flowing freely? Within yoga, blockages within the energetic system correspond to psychological and emotional stagnation. Just as trauma or repressed emotions can cause tension within the body, they can also disrupt the free flow of prana. For example, when we're stressed or we experience fear, our breathing becomes restricted. Certain areas of our body become tight. Over time, then, these patterns become habituated and we carry them unconsciously. Our breath and energy become stuck in certain habituated patterns, which then reinforce our emotional state. In psychoanalysis, we might say that much of our mental activity is governed by the unconscious, patterns and drives that we're not even aware of. Within yoga, these patterns are reflected through the flow of prana. If the breath is shallow, erratic, and unsteady, then it indicates that prana might be stuck or not flowing freely. Through Kriya Yoga, we are consciously engaging the breath so as to work through these patterns so that we can allow for the free flow of prana. As a consequence of engaging in these processes, we can experience emotional releases, spontaneous insight, and an overall sense of greater vitality and clarity. to help you get a better sense of what's been spoken about here, I invite you to join me in a short breath awareness exercise. Find a comfortable seated position. Sitting upright, close your eyes. Now bring your attention to the breath. Noticing its natural rhythm without trying to change anything. Observe the quality of your breathing. Is it fast or slow? Is it deep or shallow? And notice if there is tension anywhere in the body. Now extend the exhalation. This does not require any force. Over the next several exhalations, just allow the breath to naturally extend as you breathe out. Notice how this causes a shift in your conscious state. Imagine as you breathe out on each exhalation, the release of any stored tension, any stuck energy. Now visualize the movement of the breath through the Ida channel and the Pingala channel. Two currents of energy weaving their way along the spine. And as they come into balance, imagine the current moving effortlessly through the Sushumna, the central channel. Feel the stillness and clarity this brings. Now, when you're ready, open your eyes. This little exercise can help cultivate greater awareness of the connection between breath and energy, and how even the smallest shifts in our breathing can bring about profound changes to our state of mind. If all this resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Perhaps you yourself, as a consequence of engaging in different breathwork practices, have felt this energetic shift. Or perhaps through the use of different Kriya Yoga practices, you've entered into a deeper state of clarified conscious awareness. Do share. Let me know in the comments below. And if you found the content of this video useful, consider subscribing as we explore more on yoga, the breath, and consciousness. Thank you for being here. Until the next video.